So, central to the mission of the Arthur W. Page Center is the exploration of the role of ethics in public communications.
Right.
So in your professional opinion, what constitutes or what are the key elements of ethical public relations?
Yeah, thanks, Lee, for asking me about ethics. Certainly critical, central to communications. And I want to just take a minute, just compliment you and Larry Foster for having created the center there and the focus not only on Arthur Page, but on the development and status and future of corporate public relations, communications, just so critical in the times we're going through right now with the economy and the state that it's in, and looking ahead to what the involvement of government, which I'll talk something more about maybe if we have a chance, the role of government as it impacts corporate behavior and certainly communications. Definition of ethics for me is pretty simple. It's a matter of honesty and fairness, fair dealing. I was, back some years ago, I was chairman of the Counselors Academy of the Public Relations Society. It's back 1990, at which time we came up with our own, we called it Code of Ethics, but codes of ethics are difficult to put together. You can't really require anybody to be ethical. It all comes down to, what do I believe? Do I believe in honesty and fair dealing? And certainly the gross forms of dishonesty gets us back to what Arthur Page years ago reminded us back in the 20s and 30s, when he said that the first principle of dealing with publics and getting their support is to tell the truth. Tell the truth and then back that up with your proof. So for me, and I think for all of us, ethics is a state of mind. And that state of mind is, I will do no harm in our relationships with anybody else, whether they're competitors or customers. And in fact, I'll try to contribute some good, add some value, help to create what I think is essential, and that's the win-win deal between each company and its stakeholders. And ethics come into play there. It's more moral behavior and mental conditioning, mental attitude.
Kind of an inherent conflict between the short-term goals of business and some of the goals which, as a counselor, you're going to want to bring to the C-suite, which is to think long-term in terms of corporate image and adhering to higher ethical levels.
Right. Well, what you're asking is, how do you sustain a company's success, and that company's success relying very much on stakeholder opinion versus the short-term, what do I do this quarter? What yield do I report to my investors? And that tension is always there. I mean, company CEOs, the C-suite, the leaders, the CFO are under constant pressure to, what do I do this quarter? The stakeholders, starting with investors, do want to see a return now and a recovery now if they're in difficulty. And so that is there. But the CEOs who understand the game, who go back to Jim Collins' book on Built to Last or Moving from Good to Great, understand that this is a long-term perspective, and the focus is on not only the return for this quarter, but longer term. And how do we sustain the long-term deal with our stakeholders? How do we anticipate change? How do we beat the competition over the longer term? Ethics come into play there, but again, it's back to honesty and fair play.
Do you believe that ethical standards, I think we've touched on this a little bit, do they need to be a top-down approach, or do they need to be a bottom-up kind of grassroots movements within an organization? Or
yeah. Well, the question is, where do ethics start? And ethics, I think, starts with each individual and the kinds of people that are hired into a company, either will sustain or detract from the ethical behavior that the folks at the top want. Yeah, the standard, the acceptability, the behavior that's allowed has to start at the top. And it starts with the hiring process. And it has to be exemplified by the folks in the C-suite, or at the plant level, the plant manager, or at the sales level, the sales people in charge of sales. Production, the same thing. This is what we will do. This is what this company does. Here's how we have succeeded in the past. Here's what I pledge to do. Here are our company's commitment. The Johnson & Johnson Credo. Putting those things out there and showing this is what we will believe, and we'll back this up. If you don't believe this, it's not a good match for you, and you probably shouldn't be doing business with us or being an employee of ours. It starts at the top, becomes a mindset, becomes a mantra, becomes rewarded or discouraged within the organization. The commitment has to be expressed. I do believe that, and things like credos or our commitments for this year, or this we believe, this is our mission, the corporate mission, will put in some of that belief and language that says we care about people, we care about outcome, we will do no harm and try to leave things better than we found them.